Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Starting a new round. I see already quite a number of people are here. Yeah, then we shall begin straight away. Is there anybody who is already ready to come in? And we start our dialogue. Okay, not yet. Then I'll start with a question Marie sent me. Actually, she sent me a Zen Buddhist saying. I quote, "You should meditate every day 20 minutes, except at times when you are too busy, then you should meditate 1 hour." And in the context of that, she asked me, well, she's not immediately meditating now in the morning. Since the 1st of January, she started again the Course of Miracles. And then later, she meditates, and often she's not very quiet. The mind is agitated. And then often when she sits, she thinks, oh, I could also get up and do something else instead of sitting here and thinking. Now, what have I to say to that? I mean, everybody has to find out for themselves how much is good to meditate, whether you want to meditate a short time or a long time, how much comes naturally. And then sometimes it goes easy, sometimes it's not so easy. Sometimes the mind is more agitated, and the moment one sits, the tendency is there, one thinks about so many things. That is not a reason to get up. It's not a reason to think it's useless. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking so much I could do something more useful. It's not very pleasant when we sit there and it just goes rumba, 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 rumba in the mind. But at the same time, it is not useless. Sitting there, trying to be quiet, but not being capable to be quiet is actually very useful, because there is no other moment when we become equally, clearly aware what's really going on in the mind. As long as we are busy, then the attention is caught up with all the things that we are busy with. But when we sit and try to keep quiet, and we can't, and we are aware of it, we can also just dream away. But the moment one becomes aware and really watches what's going on, there's no other situation in which we really become aware what kind of stuff goes on in the mind. And the very fact of not exactly appreciating it and liking it helps us to detach from that. So Marie, don't let your mind trick you in immediately getting up when you are not quiet, when there is agitation, but then just be there as quiet as you can and as conscious as you can and observe as good as you can what's going on and relax in that. And somehow that observation helps you to become aware, but there is something that is not affected by it. There is an aspect in you that is not affected at all by no matter how much agitation is there on the surface. You don't have to compel yourself to sit for a long time every day, but it's helpful if you have every day some time where you just don't do anything else but being conscious, being consciously conscious, being consciously alive now, here. And be as quiet as you can and relax in that and observe what's going on. Then you can choose for yourself how much time you want to spend for that, but it's helpful if you have a little time every day. And if sometimes it's very agitated, don't think that you are wasting your time. It's just not exactly pleasant to confront a mind that just goes round and round and round, thinking the same things over and over and thinking left and right and in the past, in the future, and so what has happened, what can happen, but being aware of it helps to detach. As long as we are not aware that we are doing that, we are reinforcing that habit of doing that all the time. And then sitting there, trying to keep quiet, being aware that it's not quiet. It's not reinforcing the habit of thinking all the time. In contrary, you see what's going on. You may try to calm it down, but it may not work. And that very feeling of seeing that and not being happy about it helps to detach, and the habit is actually getting weaker. The habit is so strong because without being aware of it, we think all the time, and without being aware of it, we are interested in all the stuff that we are thinking. And once we start to really observe it a bit more neutral, then we become aware how useless most of the things are that go through our mind. In order to function sanely, we have to think. That's a capacity that is there in the human experience to be able to form consciousness into reasonable thoughts. But very rarely our thoughts are so reasonable that they are just following one reasonable thought after another in a proper direction. Most of the time they just go chuck, 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 chuck. And most of the stuff that we are thinking is totally useless. Trying to keep quiet and become aware how much we are thinking, we become aware how useless it is to think so much. But that helps to detach. That helps to let go of being interested in thinking all this all the time. You said, well, for you, that sensing may mean busy in the mind, right? But you don't have to force yourself to sit longer when you are agitated. But don't give it up because it's not pleasant, because it's not quite. Just observe as good as you can. And when we stop being interested in what we are thinking, then the thoughts have the tendency to gradually calm down. When we are not feeding them with interest. Don't worry, Mari, this is happening to everybody. Sometimes there are periods it goes quite smoothly, and then sometimes there are periods it seems, it never will happen, that you can keep quiet. Just don't give up. And don't give up sitting because of that. It helps. It's not that we just have to sit every day sometime and then we can forget about it. But remember in your activities to connect with the present, to connect with life, to connect with consciousness, consciously connect. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing. But if you have every day some time where you are doing nothing else, where you can put your undivided attention to do just that, then it's easier to remember when we are busy and to come back to that at least moments in between again and again. This in itself will after that lead to it that you start to be more focused and quieter when you sit, when you do nothing. Are you here, Marie? Obviously not. Okay, then we leave this. Is there anybody who would like to come in with something? Please come.
Good morning, Werner.
Hello, Klaus.
Hi. Very good. You brought up this topic because I was asked by, or I'm not. I might be asked by by a football club here to teach them meditation.
Yeah.
And I thought I would go to you to. Do you think it's possible to do that? And also, how would you approach it? You know, I think I got a lot of good answers here. What you were speaking about, just making that time to be with yourself again, to connect with the truth in you, and just bringing them back there. But could you just shed some light of how how one could approach a thing like that?
Well, I never thought about that. Teaching meditation to a football club. But yes, anyhow, go and try. You can tell them stuff that I'm telling here to you. And then I guess they will have questions, and you approach as you feel the connection with them when you are doing so, and then spontaneously you go ahead. Or do you have a particular technique that you have already in mind that you want to teach them?
I think in my approach is, I think after I got over this, I have tried to use every situation to wake up, to be conscious in those situations. But they are top performers, so they are not trying to wake up. They just want to maybe have a calmer mind and to perform better. So yeah. I don't think they will go so far, but it will probably be better for the human to do this. They will probably feel better about themselves and have a better life and a higher consciousness. So it will be indirectly good for them. But what I have seen also in the last period is that possibility just to detach from the thinking, detach when we become aware in the moment that this is going on. There is actually a possibility to detach and just let go and see it as not you. So I think about bringing in that what is the self, what are you actually, will be important to be able to detach. Because if you still think you are your thinking, then it will be impossible to detach, because you still believe you are that. So I think to do that, and then to just maybe a guided meditation is something also I was thinking.
Yeah. Yes, don't make it too theoretical but practical for them, that they can really use it.
Yeah.
that they may also try to do it at home when you are not with them.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Now spontaneously comes to me, if I would confront a bunch of people like this, I would feel out whether there is interest for it, but I would try to tell them, okay, instead of thinking, try to redirect your attention to the breathing. Because that's also something that's familiar to them in their sport training, that they have to somehow be aware of the breath and breathe good. So that may function quite well. Just breathe consciously and relax.
Yeah.
Anyhow, you'll do it as as you see fit and as it comes spontaneously. If later you have more questions about it while doing so, we can still talk about it.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. It can be quite an interesting adventure, so let's see how it goes.
Yes, go for it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Wish you well with it.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to come?
Hi, Werner. Good morning.
Hello, Woody.
Yeah, I would like to go backward to what you have answered to Marie, and to say that from time to time, when there are clouds in the sky, after they disappear, the view becomes much clearer and nicer. And is it the same when we have a rough meditation or unpleasant or unsuccessful meditation? We can also gain some benefit for the long run, even though that we thought that the meditation is not so good or easy or calm.
Sure. What counts is the attempt to be consciously conscious, to be really in touch with life, in the timelessness of the present. What counts is that you attempt it. That makes the difference. How much you are successful each time or not, it doesn't really lay in your hands. But that you try, that makes a difference in the long run. Every time you try, you're getting a bit stronger. Even when we are not aware of it in the midst of the process, and we may have periods where we think, I'm just turning round and round and round in the same spot and not getting anywhere. It's not true. Every drop of effort that you put in has a result. And sometimes there are longer periods we are not aware of it, and then suddenly it's again like, oh, it's you feel it, things are flowing, something seems to be happening, but subtly it has been building up. So even if you don't have what people usually call good meditations, simply to attempt to be conscious, to attempt to be quiet, is helpful in the long run, definitely. And even actually, even in those times where you cannot sit well, you may not feel very well in the meditation, but if you observe after that, when you get up, you still feel that something good has happened.
So when we are exposed to the feeling of frustration in our spiritual work, which for me at least it's not so uncommon, how we should deal with that. It's look like that we are standing in place, that there is no progression, and then frustration is coming up.
Right. Of course, the mind will always come up with this kind of arguments, but it's not the truth. But it may feel like this. But I remember very well how frustrated often I felt. If I had known at that time what I know now, I could have spared me a lot of grinding my teeth. Of just accepting, okay, this is also a reaction, this is a feeling that comes up, then don't fight against it. Then accept also that that feeling of frustration comes up and observe that. See what it is doing to your experience right now and learn to relax. And then if you are not feeding it with always thinking, but it doesn't work, I'm not getting anywhere, it's terrible, but just observing that frustration, then it goes away again. And then you just continue. And your analog is quite right, like when there are clouds in the sky, when it's raining and after that the sun comes, then the air is again cleaner. And so if you go through a period where it's hard, then something is happening, but we are not aware. And then when it goes, then you become aware, after all, something seems to go on, even if you are not quite clear what. But then you can see then from your reactions to external circumstances that after all, some unfoldment is there, that you may less react to situations that have been upsetting you previous, and this kind of indicators are there, even if we cannot exactly clearly see what is going on. It's not for nothing, definitely. And when frustration comes, then don't fight against it and accept, okay, the feeling comes, and focus on that feeling and focus on its manifestation right now. That in itself brings you to the present. And when you see what reactions are there in the body from that feeling of frustration, then you can work on that and relax that. And then the frustration itself is also gradually fading away.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hari Om. I remember having complained to Amma, I'm struggling, I'm not getting anywhere. It's always the same stuff going on in my mind. I was sitting as much as I could, complaining, I'm sitting day and night on my bum, I'm not getting anywhere, just turning around. And she said, it's just the weakness of the mind to think like this. It's not true. You may feel like this, I can see so clearly that you are going in the good direction. But the mind is always impatient. I want to do some meditation, then I want to see a result. And if I don't see the result that I imagine should happen, then we get impatient and frustrated. It's worth the trouble to continue in spite of that, and not feed the frustration, not feed those emotions that make it that much the more difficult, but see the emotions, observe what they are doing, and relax. And then they go again, and we just continue patiently, steadily. Okay, is there anyone who would like to come in?
Hello?
Hello, I hear a voice.
Yeah, it's me, Karina.
Ah,
Hi.
now I see you. Hello, Karin.
Hello. Good morning. I'm quite happy you brought up the topic because I remember asking you a few months ago about the same, that in my meditation, my mind is just chattering and chattering.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's still like this. It has not changed, not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
No.
Are there at
But-
least are there at least moments when it's quite in between?
Not really, not while I do the meditation. There are moments, as I told you the last time,
Right.
when I'm in nature, or there are moments of silence, quite a lot, but not in the meditation.
Yeah.
But I continue. I'm sitting in the morning, I'm sitting in the evening, my 25 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. And what becomes very clear is that I am really not doing the thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it's just happening, and it has not really something to do with me, because it's not like I'm thinking about the problem I have or something happening in my life or about the past or about the future. It's just chattering, blah, 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 blah. So this is quite helpful, just to see I'm not doing it.
So then you can more observe it now than
Yeah.
being in the midst of it.
Yeah, still it happens that I swept away.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah, and you know something, it's even interesting because it's like movies.
Yes.
Stories.
Yeah.
And sometimes it seems to be that I get fascinated about these stories.
Right.
And I just follow them, and then I recognize, oh, okay, go back, and then I go back to the breathe, to the breathe. And what I also notice, it helps me in daily life. Not in daily life, the observing is more happening now.
Oh, good, great.
Not that I want it, but it just happens, you know. It just happens that I realize, oh, it's my thinking. It's not real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see for yourself that even if your meditations are not as good as you would like them to be, there is an effect. Something is happening in spite of not having so-called good meditations. Yeah.
But it brought up a question in me.
Yeah.
I often ask myself why so many sadhus are smoking ganja. And I have been a ganja smoker also in my life.
Yeah.
And I know when you're stoned, there are no thoughts. And I ask myself if this is the reason they are smoking all.
I think that is a main reason. But actually, it's just fooling oneself.
Yeah, I think so.
That of course, then they they do their Shambho Mahadeva and they are in bliss, and then they meditate and feel blissful for some time, but it's, I mean, it's an imitation.
Yeah.
There is that path, the agoris, it's a tantric path where they use a lot of substances, but they combine it with a tremendous self-discipline. And that's not the same like the sadhus who rather just hang out and then they smoke their ganja and then they feel that they're progressing spiritually like that. They're just fooling themselves. it's more like doing that instead of doing what they should do because it's easier. Oh, your picture is frozen. Can you still hear me? I don't know whether it's here or there.
Mm-hmm. Hello.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I just have to put on my, you are back now. Okay.
Right, it's still something funny here. It's small and I can change it, but anyhow, I can see you again. You can see me.
Yes, yes, yes. And I can hear you also.
All right. I was kicked out for a moment.
Yes.
How much you have heard still before I was...
I forgot.
Anyhow, we were with the sadhus who smoke ganja. It's they just take the easy way to feel good, but in the long run, it's not bringing much. It's just momentary, giving the illusion that they are quite in a spiritual state doing so. I mean, sometimes people may get some kind of an inspiration when they smoke, but if after that they try to put it into practice when they are not smoking, then they may benefit from that inspiration. But if they just keep on smoking and smoking or do other drugs, then actually we are using up our life force instead of building up our life force.
Yeah, that's what I think also.
It's always asking a price to use drugs. It's using the life force. When you meditate, even if you don't meditate good, then you're getting stronger. You're building up your life force. When you use drugs, then it's using from the store of your life force to put you in these pleasant states. So actually, your capital is reducing. So I'm not saying if somebody likes sometimes to smoke ganja, it's a bad thing. But don't fool yourself that you can progress spiritually faster by doing so. It has always a price. And actually, rather, you have to make up for it by practicing. Oh no.
Werner?
Yeah. Can you
Are
hear?
you still here?
Yeah.
I can hear you. I can hear you and I can see you.
Oh,
you
yeah,
too?
good. Yeah. Something changed in the how the picture looks, but but they can still see you and hear you.
Okay. May I ask you something different?
Yes.
I just wonder about the situation in India. Because I noticed, I have seen some videos from Thiru that they do all this Pongal festival with a lot of people not wearing masks, no social distancing. And also I have seen some videos about Haridwar where the Kumbh Mela is happening right now.
Yeah.
And thousands of pilgrims are bathing in the Ganga, very close, there are no masks.
Yeah.
So I just wonder, is there no more COVID in India and can we come soon or how is it? What do you know about it?
Whether you can come soon, I have no idea how it's developing now. Because they said already they want to open the borders in the last year. And then they said in January. But and the official story is that the infections rate, the new infections has gone down a lot, but actually, to tell the truth, nobody really knows it because they just stopped testing. So, and forget about social distancing in India. When it started out, the whole lockdown, then they enforced it very strongly with a tremendous police presence. The policemen, they were walking around with long sticks and they would use them for offenders. But then with so many people enclosed in little spaces, then people just got too restless. It was not more possible. And so they started to make it easier and easier. And now, in spite of officially, it's still obligation to wear masks. But if you don't force the Indians to follow the laws, then they don't. And so now I'm surprised I'm driving out to town with my mask on, and I see I start to stick out with my mask on.
Okay.
So, but then I don't know, there can suddenly be a wave of a lot of infections, but you know, the Indians, they are quite healthy people in spite of not eating too healthy, but they have a strong system to what you call immune system. When they are sick, very quickly they are okay again. And so many may also have that COVID and not really be very sick and not even think that they have it. But what the government is going to decide, I don't know, because usually when they open, it should be mutual with countries, and that's in Europe. I hear it's again a total lockdown. Since on Monday I heard just yesterday that Monday in Switzerland, it's again going to get worse, the whole lockdown, for closing everything. And then if they don't let Indians enter the country, then I don't think that the Indians let Swiss people enter the country. But this is also my guess. I mean, it's the obvious, the official statements, they keep on changing all the time. So I can't answer your question.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om. Anyhow, you are good in your island. No?
Oh, yes, I'm very well. Especially my island, we do not have a lot of cases. We have no new cases. We have no lockdown. Just we have to wear the mask.
Yeah.
I'm fine here, yes.
Yeah. Most probably better that you stay there for some more time.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Please come.
Hello, Werner. It's Anita.
Hello, Anita. I hear you. I don't see you. Oh, there you are. I see you. Hello.
Hello. How are you, Werner? Nice to
fine.
see you again. Yeah, good. I just wanted to continue the conversation that you've been having so far about sitting, and also about the mind being busy. And, you know, when you're having ganja, it can create those kind of, experiences which don't really take you very far. So what's your opinion about the health of a body, of a physical body, and its effect on accessing the higher mind? Yeah, I just would like to know what your opinion is on that.
Until we are really, really detached from that physical level, it has an effect when your body is not well. I mean, Ramana Maharshi, he didn't care about his body, but he just was absorbed and it didn't affect him. So he couldn't care less. And then his body was also suffering from his intensity because he didn't bother to somehow keep the body up up to the level of his energy, and he started to have shaking disease and stuff already early in his life, but it didn't affect at all his intense spiritual depth because he was so totally absorbed. But there are not so many Ramana Maharshis. No, it's advisable that you keep your body reasonable, healthy, if you can. Don't get obsessed on the physical level, but it's better to keep your body healthy. It's much easier to keep the mind focused, to keep the mind quiet. I see here often that people neglecting their body because of the teaching, the Advaita teaching, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, and the example of Ramana, but people are not ready just to completely detach from that level. And as long as they are healthy, this is fine. But then when the diseases come, then all I'm not the body is forgotten, and they're running left and right and to healers and to treatments and forget all about I'm not the body. It's better to keep it in a harmonious way, healthy, body, mind, soul.
I understand that's the path of Hatha Yoga too, isn't it? Really, it is about
Right.
the Hatha Yoga path as well, you know.
Right. If you combine the Hatha Yoga path as it should with the Raja Yoga, with the
Yes.
when you take Patanjali's, you
That's
may
part
be
of Raja Yoga, yeah.
you may be familiar with Patanjali and his 8, the Raja Yoga of Patanjali. And first are the levels of preparation, but then the Raja Yoga is the Dharana, the Dhyana, and the Samadhi. And as long as you keep that in harmony with the Hatha Yoga, then Hatha Yoga is, and Hatha Yoga was meant for that. Unfortunately, as Hatha Yoga is being taught now worldwide, it has a bit lost that aspect. There are very wonderful, good Hatha Yoga teachers and Hatha Yoga schools who really do it for the spiritual purpose. But what is the large majority, what is now very popular as yoga, it's more to make the body strong and do tremendous thing, and actually then it defeats its own purpose spiritually. When we get obsessed with the body and just it matters how far you can stretch and bend and twist and how big
It's
your
all
muscle.
externalized still. Yeah, it's all
And-
about the external thing still.
Right, and
It's-
just about your appearance, and then instead of giving you a chance to observe your mind better and being more aware of the egoistic activity, it's again made into a means to strengthen the ego.
Yes, yes.
So definitely Hatha Yoga is very helpful if it's done in the proper way. But there are other ways. You can also do sport. You can do Tai Chi, Qigong. You can just swim. You can somehow help your body to keep a reasonable health. And then it makes it easier to be focused and to go deeper. The body and the mind, they will influence each other. As long as that total detachment is not there, when the body is not well, then the mind will be more agitated, and it will be more difficult to be at ease, at peace, to be quiet.
Yeah. The other thing about that I wonder about at times is the inclination of us humans as a species. How many of us, you know, it's one of the thoughts that I have when I should be meditating. But it's, you know, about is there really, what do you think, just a percentage really of us humans who try to exist in this area, who try to, you know, to live in that space of the spiritual self, you know? And
what are you asking actually? How many percent? Or
no. What I'm asking is, do you have any, you know, thing to say about, you know, not everybody is able to enter the spiritual path. You know, it's not suited to everybody, and to certain personality types and various things.
Right. It's not that not everybody is able, that potential is there in everybody. But I mean, the world has been developing in the last 70 decades extremely materialistic, and the influence was so strong, just the whole consumer society, the consumer thinking, just struggling to get more money, to get more things with your money and try to feel happier in that way, was so strong that hypnosis is so strong that it needs, for most of the people, it needs usually some event that is shattering that their worldview, or something that happens, that they start to try to go deeper and start to question. But now this whole COVID situation, actually, it's a great catastrophe for the whole world, but actually there is something very positive happening here. It may have been done on purpose. I'm not going in any conspiracy theories and stuff. They go out of bounds, but it may have been put in on purpose for the sake of getting more power and getting more control and God knows what, but it's backfiring. Actually, people were forced to stay home and start to think more and start to look for ways of being happy when it's not possible to do all the things they have been doing all the time. And so actually it has brought about worldwide an awakening, a deeper interest for spirituality, and there is a tremendous energy flowing to the earth that supports that. So in the long run, actually, this period may prove to be an extremely helpful period, that people start to be more open for something more profound than just accumulating things and wealth.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. That's been our experience here in Melbourne, where we had one of the hardest lockdowns for the longest up till now, you know, in the Western world. And even though many people were very depressed and very sad, there was a because of the shock of it, but many people are also saying how happy, it's the happiest they've been in many years, because they just were with family, cooking and eating at home together, you know, walking together, spending, heartfelt time with each other.
Yeah.
Whoever they were with, yeah. So there was a lot of positives, and there still is ongoing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. A general opening up is there. And the potential is there in everybody. There is nobody who is not part of that divinity. It's just when the mindset is really from the old habits, so totally focused on everything else, but become aware of the essence, then it's difficult for such people to turn the attention around. But it's not that the potential is not there. The ability is there in everybody if they somehow get the idea to even try.
Thank you. Thanks for that interaction. That was lovely and always interesting. Thank you, Werner.
You are welcome.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who would like to talk?
Hello, Werner.
Hello.
Werner.
Oh, hello, Carl.
Hello, Werner. Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
I wanted to ask a question regarding something you said in your last satsang, last Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
You spoke about, as far as I remember, to a greater length about God's grace and Guru's grace. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
My question is, if the devotee, the disciple, invokes the grace of the Guru through prayer, through meditation, yeah, without being in the presence of the guru,
Yeah.
will a connection be made? Yeah. Then following on to that, if the guru is not in the body anymore, but has passed away, can the same still happen? Can the devotee, the disciple, connect with the guru through invocation, prayer, meditation? Yeah. And going it one step further still,
Yeah.
if say, disciple, devotee never met the guru, like say in the case like Ramana, nobody of the people who are here with in the Zoom meeting today will have ever met Ramana, but quite a few of us will also feel a connection with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they also do that, you know, turn to Ramana. I mean, it's not just about Ramana, it's about any guru, it's just an example. And when I mean guru, I mean what we usually call a real Sadguru, you know, where there is
Right.
no doubt that it's really a high and deep realization of the divine,
Yeah.
high and deep realization of that. Yeah.
Of that.
Maybe you can say a few things and guide me and us in this, please.
Right. Absolutely. To the question whether it's still possible with a guru that is not in the body. You can definitely connect with a being that is not embodied right now on this world and still have that intimate, that strong, powerful contact with that being. It simply needs a bit more self-discipline on our part, because if there is a guru in a body manifest, and sometimes you meet the guru, or maybe you live with the guru, but even if you don't live all the time, then you meet again and the guru can tell you, hey, 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 be careful there. Whereas the disembodied guru, he is also sending messages, but we are always masters in interpreting things in our mind the way we like them. And sometimes, even if deep down we feel, okay, it would be better not to do this, or it would be better to go this side, then in our mind we are justifying and saying, yeah, but now I'm getting a message from my guru and it's justified and I should do this because we like it. So it needs more subtle introspection that it has the same intensity. But if your heart is really opening to a being, no matter whether that being is embodied or not embodied, that very connecting with love with that being is doing something, that something automatically comes back to you. Ramana Maharshi is not in his body now since 70 years, right? Since 70 years. And still, he is such a presence in this world. He keeps on inspiring people around the globe just with that intensity that he brought here while he was living and somehow kept it up. It's not more Ramana Maharshi, the person that we knew with that head, with that feature, but that being that has been projecting Ramana Maharshi, which was also just an aspect of that mighty being that appeared as Ramana Maharshi. And if through that form, because we know that form, through that form we connect with that being that has projected Ramana Maharshi at that time, then we're still getting that same contact then like when he was here in a form.
Yeah, I've heard somebody said that when as long as the guru is still embodied, well, let's say when the guru passes away, then it's like his powers even get stronger, yeah, because he's not held back by the physical body anymore.
I think these are all speculations from the sadhaks. Anyhow, and really, as you indicated, when you talk now about the guru, you really talk about somebody, a real Satguru, who is beyond time and space. And then all these kind of talk are speculations of the sadhaks. Whether in the body or out of the body, it's just beyond mental comprehension what that being is. Actually, we can't also comprehend what we are ourselves. We can simply bring the attention back to that sense of presence as good as we can. There is no way of understanding that. So in the same way, we can't possibly understand what the guru is and how it's exactly functioning. But definitely for the basic question whether that grace from the guru can come to somebody if the guru is not embodied, no doubt about.
So when you say a lot comes actually also back to what you could call sincerity and faith.
Right. And that is the same thing whether the guru is there or in a physical form or not. I mean, if the guru is there in a physical form, we can look what the guru is doing the whole day long and then have go about and criticize all the little things that we think the guru should do different. Or you can leave the guru do their stuff and connect with the essence of the guru, with faith and with love and with sincerity. And you can do the same thing when the guru is disembodied. But ultimately, it comes back to our sincerity. That's for granted. I remember somebody asked Nisargadatta, but why are there so few gurus there? And Maharaj replied, no, gurus are enough. There are plenty of gurus, but where are the sincere sadhaks? Whether we connect with a being or with abstract divinity, if that sincerity is there, this is the invitation for the divine grace to manifest. I mean, the divine grace is there all the time. And that we start to look for reality more consciously is already a manifestation of an intensified grace. But then it seems, although grace is everywhere all the time, sometimes within manifestation it falls in a certain spot more intensely. And we can't command that. It's not a particular technique that we can learn and then somehow force that grace down. We can't in any way control that, but we can make ourselves available. We can invite it. And that invitation is exactly that sincerity with which we try to connect with that essence in no matter what way, whether we are doing that more as a bhakta with guru bhakti or bhakti to God, or whether we're doing that more as a jnana marge, by inquiry, by being self-aware every moment, or whether we are doing it more in a yogic way by learning to feel the prana, control the prana, balancing out the prana, or in any combination of that ways. But the crucial word is actually the sincerity with which we are going about it. And that's the invitation for grace. And then sometimes, then it's already there that we can do that at all. But sometimes it may just boom there, and there may be an opening up that we are again totally encouraged to continue. We can't do that opening up, but we can present ourselves that it is possible. We can do a lot of things to prevent it. and the main part of the sincerity is to have a good look at oneself and see how many things we are doing all the time to prevent it, and learn not to do it anymore.
Yeah, I've just read in a book, somebody, a very good Swami, he said he spoke about the alignment of the reality with the personality. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the way I understood is kind of this, I think, is a lot of what the sadhana is about, isn't it? That we kind of remove that which is in the way, because our true nature is already that, the indescribable divine reality. But then we put all the karmically, or in this very life, there are things we put in our way, you know. And then this is how we go about. We try to gradually sift the things away, isn't it?
Exactly. Actually, spiritual practice sadhana is not about enlightenment. Spiritual practice sadhana is about removing the obstacles. And we, even here in the satsang, we talked before about spiritual progress. There is not really such a thing. The progress is more in how much garbage is still in the way, and how we progressing in removing that which creates that sense of separation, that sense of me separate from the whole rest of existence.
Yeah. You know, sometimes I feel like I don't have enough time to remove all that. You know, I feel like that sort of, you know, as we get older, and sometimes I feel like, oh, there's so many things to look at and sift through and bring in alignment, and this isn't straight, and that's something off here, and so then I kind of can find it a bit disheartening. But I know that the being disheartened is another trap, isn't it?
Right, it's another trap. It's another trick of the old personality who wants to have an excuse of not more. Then okay, maybe it's too much, so let me have a good time instead.
No, it's not about the good time. Actually, it's more like there's the focus is there, but sometimes I think, oh, this and this. You know, sometimes one discovers something in oneself.
Yeah.
And you can see it closer, and then I think, well, I've known that a long time, but it's been so close. I haven't been able to see it. It's only because suddenly I can see it, and I think, oh, this and this is behind there, and so. And then I feel, oh, so much I'm uncovering of where I can see, there's work to do here, work to do there, things to bring in alignment. And this were a feeling of disheartenment. I don't know if it's proper English, if disheartenment comes in. But I also realized that this feeling is also then another layer of another obstacles in the way, isn't it?
Right, it's exactly. It's still a trick of the old personality who doesn't want to really give up its position. And if you become aware that this feeling of dejection comes, and after all, sometimes it seems to be such a gap, the ideals they are talking about, and then we have a good look at our own mind and see what is really going on. It seems to be so far away and so hopeless, but that very feeling is one of the obstacles that we are creating. And then don't believe it, but let the feeling come. Don't try to don't fight the feeling. Let the feeling come and deal with that feeling like I talk about other feelings. Accept that it's there and observe what it is doing to you right now, physically, energetically. And then when you see what it is doing to your experience right now, then learn to relax, and then it cannot stick around for long. then it goes again and you go happily continue with your path.
So just continue, right?
Just
let
continue. And after all, I mean, if you look at yourself now and 20 years ago, where you were already on the path, then sometimes it may be disheartening to find out, oh my God, this mechanism is still there, so strong. But on the other hand, you can also see how much has changed, how much the hardness has softened, how many of the little pikes that are there have been removed, and that there is at the base a general increasing sense of peace and well-being, much more than it was there. So you can see that it has not been in vain, the whole thing, even if sometimes it's getting again a little bit shocking, seeing, oh no, it's all this time it was there and I couldn't really recognize it, but it's rather a moment for being happy. Ah, finally I see it, and then we can let it go. And nothing is ever lost. Nothing of all the investment is lost. No, not a drop of effort, not a drop of what we have been going through is lost. It all accumulates something very precious, even if we are not maybe now ready and capable of reaping the fruit of it. But sometime, somewhere, that same being who went through the whole thing will look back and think, great, I kept going, great, I went through it. It was definitely worth the trouble.
Would you say there's been some patterns which have come up a long time back, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years ago, and they're still coming up? Do they come up because the storehouse of samskaras, the karmic tendencies, are just so thick, and they kind of, the way when you go into it in meditation, that like bubbles coming up one after the other? Would you say it's like that?
You can say like that. And then some patterns, they are very powerful because they may have been there for a long time. And sometimes it's disheartening to see how we're working on certain patterns and they are still active. But then if we patiently go about it, then even the strongest thing, eventually they lose their power. But some patterns may not be old, or even if they have already been put in place in our childhood, we may not have put that much energy into it. And then when we see them, it's relatively easy to let that go. But others, we may have really energized without being aware of it. And then all that vitality is stuck in it, and then it needs some time and work that it can be liberated, that it loses its power. But if we are determined and watchful, then even the strongest patterns, they lose their power eventually. The character, as long as you are in that same form, may still be there, and the tendency to manifest again that pattern may still be there, but you will gain eventually the freedom that you can see it, and then you can decide whether you want to go that way or not. And if you don't want, then you just drop it and it's gone. How is it on your island? Do you have lockdown there?
yes, everywhere is locked down, but because we are, you know, on the west coast of Scotland, and so we are in a lower tier. So means like there are restrictions, but they are not as strong as they are on the mainland.
Right.
And well, one thing is because being out here is already has some restrictions already. You know, life
Right.
here is
Yeah.
simpler than in a bigger city.
Yeah.
So for us, you know, we don't feel. Of course, we feel, but it's in some ways we're quite all right. You know, we're
Yeah.
so we are not really in a difficult situation. You know, so and what's quite interesting, you know, I hadn't been here in Europe for a winter for many years.
Yeah.
Certainly not the last 15 or so, but it's actually it's quite easy, also quite nice. There's many nice days, sunny days, and it's actually quite nice in its own way. So
Yes, sure.
so it's interesting because one can have an idea about something like, say, winter in Europe. Oh, this is difficult, this is bad, it's not nice, you know. But when you actually go through it, think, well, it has a lot of nice aspects too.
Definitely everywhere. Huh? And you, of course, you both are used to be with yourself and be creative with yourself. So not going out is not a big deal. Huh? Like for other people who were more totally involved in the society.
Yeah, no, it's you know, we're quite sort of solitary and
Yeah.
introspective, and so in that and in times like this, it comes comes with an advantage.
Yeah.
So,
And for the other people there who live on the island, it's also not as depressing an experience like the people in a city. Huh?
yeah, I would say it depends on the individual. I mean, I know that some people are struggling a little bit, but I would say generally in the bigger places, because you'll feel the effects of the lockdowns much more, you know.
Yes.
Because if you have a built-up area, obviously you can't go out. I mean, you can go out, but immediately you'll be surrounded by more buildings, other people. You have to keep the distancing. I mean, here, you know, social distancing, that's easy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
The huge spaces here, you know. In
Yeah.
the village we are, I think, 500 people or so at the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
You know, it's not difficult, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah. So we're all right here. No problem.
Okay, fine. Good.
Yes. Nice to see you.
Wish you well.
Yes.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come? Please come.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Kailas.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So I have a question regarding what you were talking about at the start of this satsang, when you were responding to Marie, I think, and talking about taking the time every day to be consciously conscious.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've used this word or this term quite often. I notice being consciously conscious, and I'm just wondering, because there are quite a few satsang teachers who use the word presence.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, in the Buddhist tradition, the word mindfulness is
Right.
often used. So, what you call being consciously conscious, and this word presence, the way some satsang teachers use it, and mindfulness in the Buddhist tradition. Is it basically just three different words for the same thing, or do you consider them three different things? And if they are different, then what's the difference?
Actually, they are the same thing. It's the mindfulness of the Buddhist path is what I'm talking about when I say consciously conscious. Because conscious, everybody is always conscious somewhat, but that consciousness is so half asleep and the attention goes everywhere. Being consciously conscious means to bring the attention to the present. And that's the same thing like the mindfulness of the Buddhists. That somehow or other we are not half asleep and always dreaming, but just being in that, often I use also that expression, in that timelessness of the now. Because in a way, within time, there is not really such a point like present. Because as soon as you put the finger, it's already past. It's never present. But there is that aspect in us that is not moving along with time, but is like prior to time. That's why I'm often saying that timelessness of the present. Because as soon as you are really aware of that sense of presence, it's like you are stepping out of time. And that is what the mindfulness brings you to, and what brings you to by being aware of the breath, or by what I call being consciously conscious, bringing the attention back to the present. We can the present experience within time use for it, but then not get stuck on the little details of the experience, because there we go already again in the past. But just, for example, being aware of the breath is happening now. It's not something that happened just beforehand you think about. It's not something that happens after a moment. You use the breath, but then you can start to think about it and start to wonder, should I be aware in the breath here or there, in the nose or in the lungs or in the third eye or in the belly? And then we are off again. But just bring the attention back to an actual happening is like a gateway to become aware with that timelessness, with that which is ever present prior to time. So yes, it's the same thing. When I say consciously conscious, it's the same thing what the Theravada call mindfulness. The way you go about it may be a bit different described in one school or in another. The little helpful tricks you use may be slightly different, but basically, essentially, it's the same.
Okay. It just seems to me that sometimes with presence, when some teachers use the word presence, there's kind of a flavor of intensity to it, which maybe isn't quite the same, in the Buddhist tradition. When they talk about mindfulness, there isn't this same.
So I don't know whether you can hear me.
So with mindfulness also for me.
I didn't hear you for a moment.
I hear you.
Oh yeah. And yeah. Okay, then it's okay. But you said, yeah, you said that what some teachers say, the presence. It's, you feel there is a greater intensity than what Buddhists usually mean when they talk about mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said? Yeah.
That's my impression, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, after that, whether the intensity is there always depends the practitioner, how intensely he does that. I think they are the same. And if it somehow appeals to you more and gives you the sense of greater intensity, that expression, the presence, then by all means pick that up because it appeals to you. But it's not really that inherently there is more intensity than when you call it mindfulness or when you call it being consciously conscious. The intensity doesn't come by force. The intensity actually is there in your being. And the more we bring the attention to that present, the more that intensity simply is there. When people go out, try to have a good time, try to have intensity, then they do things that for some time the attention is absorbed in what they are doing in the present, like having some great time together. Then people don't think about the past and the future, but the more they are in the present, the more that intensity is there, and the more they have the feeling they are enjoying life. But because it's hooked to things, then they always try to repeat it and think it's because of the things. But actually, that enjoyment came out of the intensity because the attention was very strong, connected with that present. And the more you are just here now and let go and relax, the more that intensity is simply there. It doesn't have to be constructed in any way.
Okay.
So I
Thank
think
you very much.
I think you're feeling that the presence there is more intensity in it is just because it resonates more with you.
Maybe.
Right. That's perfectly well. Whatever works.
Okay. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
You're welcome. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come? We have a few more minutes. We can talk if anybody likes.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Werner.
Hello.
I would like to talk about anger and control.
Yes.
That some people can, I don't know, project on you and how to deal with that, because it can be very tough. If it's all the time. I mean, when you're with that person, it's what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about anger because of that projection. The anger comes as a reaction.
I can feel the anger from this person a lot, and I can feel it in me also.
Yeah. Right.
And it makes my body really react to this.
Yeah.
And how to be in it, because it can be, should I not talk? What should I do?
Right.
to ease this for him and for me, because it's really stressful.
Yeah, right. I mean, it may be helpful to just very gently ask the person, can we not sit down and talk about the matter? But with some people, it's just not possible to talk.
No.
Right. And if you feel that projection comes all the time, and there comes a lot of anger. Of course, the more anger comes then as a reaction from you, the more also
Yes.
you're supporting that, and you're
Yes,
feeding
yeah.
that anger.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you have to be meek and let anything happen what is happening. You can be strong in yourself, but the more you are capable of not reacting, but see, oh, it's happening again, and then observe in your body instead of reacting to the situation. Observe in your body, what is that anger doing in your body?
Yeah.
How it is cramping up the muscles, how it is creating tensions, and then put your attention on that level and relax that.
Okay.
And the more you are capable to relax that, the more the anger that comes from outside dissipates also. The more we are fighting it or try to create a shield, then
yeah, you're right.
The more we are also encouraging that anger to go on, but the more you are capable of just seeing what it is doing in your psychophysical manifestation and learn to relax, the more you become transparent. It's like that then the anger goes through you and doesn't cause any harm any longer.
Yeah, because this is really old, you know, it's my father, so it's from childhood.
Yeah.
And it's always been like this.
Yes.
So I just I would really like to go through this, and I mean, really, like you say, let it go through my body, as you say. Actually, I think that would be the solution, not to just be with it.
And mentally accept, okay, my father is the way he is.
Yeah.
I can't change that.
No.
And then in the mind we still can resist, but he shouldn't, why is he always doing like he shouldn't.
Yeah.
And if we do that, then we hurt ourselves, because it's a fact of experience, and resisting against that fact is just making ourselves miserable. So it's better to accept, okay, he is the way he is.
Yeah.
If he's open to change and comes and asks for help, then we can do something about it, but we cannot forcibly change other people. So better accept that it has been the whole lifelong like this. So why should I now resist against the fact that it's still like that? He is the way he is. And when the anger comes, instead of reacting to the situation, shift the attention to what it is doing to you right now and learn to relax. And even if in the situation you completely forget and you react, then after the situation is over, usually what is happening, we keep it in the mind and turn it around and feeding it.
Yeah.
And when you become aware, oh, there it got me again completely. So what? It's past. It doesn't exist, but now exists, and I'm still holding on to that anger and the angry reaction in me. There you can start to work on it and see, okay, let me see what it is doing. His anger, my anger that is locked in my body, how it is really feeling, because most of the time we are not aware at all what it is doing, but it's doing a lot physically, energetically.
Yeah.
If you put the attention there and see what is the strain, the cramps, all that is the result of that, and then start to relax. Relax your whole manifestation. Don't go into a point where it's really bad and try to relax that, but relax relax your legs, relax your feet, and let the whole rest of the body relax. And then already your anger dissipates. And then if you continue with that relaxation, whatever is stuck that is coming from outside also starts to dissipate. And if you do that, even if you lose it in the moment, but the moment you remember that, then you don't postpone it. You don't postpone it by justifying, but I'm right, he's wrong, I'm right,
Yeah,
he's wrong, I'm
that's
right,
the
he's
mind,
wrong.
yeah.
Then, but okay, it doesn't matter whether I'm right or wrong.
No.
The fact is that anger is troublesome and I want to
Yeah.
get rid of. And there you let go, you deal with it, you watch it, you learn to relax it, and then that memory that we see, I'm again totally in the old habitual reaction. It comes earlier and earlier, and eventually,
Yeah.
even in the situation, you can become sometimes aware, there it is. And instead of opposing, instead of inside reacting, you just immediately relax and it just passes through you.
That sounds so nice.
It works. It works.
Yeah. And I'm noticing that before this ruminating could go on then for a long time after being angry. But now I'm stopping it. So it's not going on.
So long.
You know, the blaming and
Yeah.
sorrow and anger, and it just kept on going for a long time.
Right.
And now it's just I'm stopping it. So it is working what I'm doing, but I would like to take it to the next step to not get angry at all, to just be.
Right.
Yeah.
But don't be disheartened when you get angry. But the moment you become aware, then you work on it, and you don't try to control it with force.
Okay.
I mean, for a moment, it may always be justified to put the breakers instead of exploding.
Yeah.
But then don't try to control your emotion with force, but rather accept, okay, the emotion is there.
Yeah.
Let me see what it is doing and relax.
Yeah.
And then it really goes much smoother and easier. By controlling, by fighting, we also strengthen often the emotion.
Yeah. Okay. I think that is can be a mental thing that I've been doing for many years, the controlling about the anger.
Yes.
I think you're right about that. Yeah.
For a moment, it may be totally justified that you don't react. So for a moment, control. But then the moment goes and you don't need control anymore. And then, then you can accept, okay, accept the emotion is there. Even if I don't like the emotion, it's there. So see what it is doing. See how it is manifesting and learn to relax. Like that, you don't feed it and it starts to dissipate much quicker.
Thank you very much, Werner.
You're most welcome. I wish you well.
Thank you.